watching The Bat.
Welcome to this month's Salute to Service, and today with me on the show I got Mr. Jerry Lemons, United States Air Force veteran. How you doing, Jerry?
Very good, thank you.
Good to see you.
Ed. Thank you, Ed. Nice to see you.
So let's go back a few years to when you were a little bit younger, and you grew up in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, I did.
So when did you join the service?
I first joined the service, actually, when I was a junior in high school. I joined the Army National Guard, 110th Infantry, 28th Division, Company K, in Washington, Pennsylvania, and went to Indiantown Gap for my training. And
Oh, Indiantown Gap.
yes.
I've been there a few times. It probably has not changed much since 1954 either. What did you do? How long were you in the Army National Guard, and what did you do?
I was there for 1 year, 10 months. You know, I was, my MOS was a radio operator.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I drove the big trucks, you know, and that kind of thing. And
Deuce and a halves and stuff?
yeah. And I really enjoyed it. You know, I grew up during World War II, and my uncles and all. In fact, I had a uniform as a little kid, a khaki uniform, and I shined their shoes. You know, and so the military was very much a part of my life.
So how long were you in the Guard before? Because I know you're actually an Air Force veteran.
1 year, 10 months.
And then did you get out and transfer over to the Air Force? Or
Actually, I moved to Gary, Indiana. My grandfather had moved there, and when I moved out of state, then they separated me, and actually, I wanted to go in the Navy as a kid. I wanted to fly. I wanted to go to Pensacola, and I first office I walked in Gary, Indiana, was Air Force. So I ended up in the Air Force.
And you did quite a few years in the United States Air Force now.
Yeah, right.
All active, or some active and some reserve, or
Well, all active.
all
really.
active?
Yeah.
And what year did you go in the Air Force?
I went in the Air Force in 1957. And retired in 1977.
So you're enlisted. You enlisted into both the Army National Guard and the.
Yes.
You didn't do any time in Korea, did you?
No.
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 So when you enlisted in the Air Force, what were you doing? What was your job? What did you get assigned to do?
Well, I started out in aircraft maintenance, and that was at Donaldson Air Force Base in Greenville, South Carolina, and had some good experiences there. We went, our first overseas was, we went on Operation Deep Freeze, went to New Zealand, Harewood Aerodrome, and we would fly from there to McMurdo Sound on the Ross Ice Shelf. My commander was an American Indian, Captain Leland Bearskin. Wonderful, wonderful man. He allowed me to take the controls of that C-124.
So okay, that was my next question. What kind of plane you guys were flying? So what's the C-124 do? I mean,
well, that was a very large, at that time, cargo aircraft that would carry troops and/or supplies. You know, you could lower a ramp on the front of it and drive a Jeep up into it and that kind of thing. You know. So
it was kind of like the C-5s of today, but back then.
Yeah.
So you served, obviously, Vietnam War starting in the 60s. You were in quite a few years. Yeah. Any time in Vietnam?
Yeah, I was 67, 68 in Vietnam. I was in the 19th Air Commando Squadron.
What were you doing then? What were you flying?
The C-123 provider.
Still doing that.
Yeah.
So what was it like going from, I mean, you grew up, like you said, you grew up in World War II, and you served right after Korea in the Army National Guard. And then you joined the Air Force, and obviously Vietnam kicks in. What's it like for a young man, you know, when you're transitioning, almost like our young men and women are today, from just one war to another every 5 or 10 years? What's your thoughts?
It's emotional because, you know, when these occur, as a veteran, your mind goes to those men and women who are gone, and for their families at home. You know, it's tough.
Right.
It's an emotional experience each time that happens.
No, talking about go ahead.
Yeah, as it's going on right now.
So talking about families, when did you get married? Because I know you got a lovely wife and 4 or 5 kids, right?
I got married in 1958.
Okay, so you're already in the Air Force by then.
Yeah.
So she had a job, that's why, right?
Oh, she's a sweetheart.
And how many children?
5.
5 children. And so, I mean, what's it like being, you know, I mean, in the service, going off to war and having wife and kids at home? I mean, that's a lot of responsibility, isn't it?
It is indeed, yes, it is.
And how does your wife handle that?
Well, it's tough. You know, they would hear what was going on during the war, and you know, and you're always families are worrying about their sons or daughters, and
Right.
she'd have to pull off the road and park the car. You know, when she'd hear something on the news, and so it's tough on families
It's tough
because
on
the family service is you're serving, your family's serving, the mother is serving, mom and dad, and your brothers and sisters are all with you.
Right.
You're going like they are right now today.
the whole family.
That's right. Yeah.
So you know, with that said, with families and everything, and today, and I know you do a lot for veterans today and families. You're very involved in your church and hospices and going out to the communities and all that. And you have a deep devotion for veterans. And could you tell me a little bit about that? I know you got something here you want to read also, but tell me a little bit about why you do what you do today.
Well, I have been blessed so very much in my life. You know, I grew up with parents that loved each other, loved us, and they gave us that greatest gift you can give your children is love, and very close, you know, to family and church, and the people that were part of my life, you know, passed that love on to me, and they continue to do that today. The men and women, veterans that I love, have touched my very soul, you know, with their spirit. You know, they'll share their life experiences with another veteran.
Right.
Sometimes they'll open up, you know. I have friends that will weep today over a combat experience they had in Korea, you know.
It comes back.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
does. Now you got something you want to read, which you said explains what you think it is to be a veteran. You want to go ahead and read that?
Well, yes, I want to read this because it calls to mind the love the veteran has of country. It's called My Flag. I was a young lad of 9 when my family moved to McFarland. I did not know much about our flag. I did know that every morning before class we would say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I didn't really know why, but I knew that she sure was beautiful, that the red, the white, and the blue. I used to paint my bike, it seems like every month or so, sometimes red fenders and sometimes blue. Then as time went by, I had to make a choice, whether to go to school or join the Army. Things were not so good at home, and it was a long bike ride to Madison to go to school. So anyway, 3 months later, I found myself in Yokohama, Japan, standing reverently at daybreak every day, watching the flag being raised. She became a really nice sight to see. Or maybe I was a little homesick. I was still only 17 years old. 15 months later, I found myself in a mud shack somewhere in North Korea with guards all around, wondering, why am I here? I had a lot of time to think about things. I sure wished I could see that flag again and be home where I could come and go as I pleased and have something to eat. A little over these years later, that dream came true. One day, I was riding down a rough old road in North Korea in a rickety truck when it stopped and someone took the cover off. And to my amazement, there stood 2 American soldiers. One said, "Come on, I'll help you down." Well, I didn't need any help. After all, I still had some pride in me. Then I picked up my 102-pound body off the ground. Then I saw the most amazing sight in my life. There she stood on a rod on a hot August afternoon, waving in the breeze the American flag. I went over by her, I gave a snappy salute, and then I sat down and put my arms around the flagpole and cried, "Now I know what the flag means. Freedom, freedom, and I will never forget." A little while later, a lieutenant came by me and said, "Come on, son, you're home now." I didn't want to let go. And he said, "You'll soon have all the flags you want." So 5 months later, I am back in McFarland, enjoying the freedom that once was taken away from me. As you walk down the streets of McFarland and see all the flags flying, give them a salute or just say hi and be happy you're free. And on Memorial Day, come over to the American Legion Hall and look at the Hill of Honor and see all the flags that represent the men and women who died for that freedom that we enjoy in our country. Wave all the flags, wave at the flags, and they will wave back. That was Darrell J. Krentz, American Legion Post, 534 McFarland, Wisconsin. And so it is, we do love our flag.
Mm-hmm.
And
what it represents.
And what it represents, that red, white, and blue, you know.
And most people don't realize that the flag is actually a living entity. It represents the people of this nation.
Yes, it does, you know. And we've
That's
heard, we've heard it said many times, you know, when we go through the military funerals and, you know, that blue field and white stars representing heaven itself, you know, the red, the blood that was shed, the white that represents purity, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's a powerful story there from a gentleman who was obviously a prisoner of war during Korea.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that represent to you from your time in service when you go to get out of the service and you continue on like you do for our veterans?
Well, it's veterans. We love them, and they're so much a part of our life. And what it means to me is I'm just grateful for every one of them. You know, you can get to hold their hands and be with them and pray with them. And
well, how'd you feel the last day you were in the service?
The last day?
Yeah.
Well, I really didn't want to get out of the service. But our firstborn son, God bless him, and many love him, a special population. And they had such a great facility here in Medina County for special children. So we didn't want to leave that. And
you were doing recruiting at that time, right?
yeah, I was in headquarters Air Force recruiting, and what a wonderful experience, you know.
What did you go on to do after you got out of the service? I mean, in your civilian life, what was your career?
Well, I was in the management at Republic, and it became LTB Steel.
So, I mean, you're obviously very successful. Anything from the military carry with you that you feel as though you made your success today? Leadership qualities, anything like that?
The military provides a roadmap to success with the discipline, what you learn, and what you're grateful for, the experiences, the schools you go to, the organization, the order.
Mm-hmm.
The order, it gives order to life, and it's a wonderful experience, you know.
So now I know the calm, God-loving Jerry Lemons, but let's hear about something in the service. I know there had to be a time, something that you did that was kind of on the wild side, maybe, and out and had some fun. You and the wife or something. Vacation. I know you got it. I know you got one.
Well, so. I can tell you one here, you know. I can remember being out with my wife, and we were in a like a club or something, and some of the guys at another table, they were cussing. Well, I got up, you know, and I went over and I said, "Hey, my wife's with me. What are you guys doing?" Back then, you know, you could do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did that today, if I would.
People would look at you like you were kind of strange today.
Yeah, and they probably would start whipping on me, perhaps, you know. So, but there's still a lot of great men and good people and good children and good families in this country.
So what did they say when you went over there and said, "Hey, my wife's with me"?
They apologized.
Oh yeah, they apologized to the wife and you too, huh?
Yes, yeah.
Where were you at? Any idea?
That was in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
Any overseas tours other than the Vietnam tour?
Well, as I said, I think I mentioned Operation Deep Freeze.
Up in.
And then I was also in the Philippines. I went to school there. I was in Guam.
Take your wife with you over to the Philippines or Guam, or was it
my wife was always at home.
Always at home,
with the 5 children.
So, Tell me a little bit what you do for the VFW, and I know you're a big part of the VFW here in Brunswick and a big part of the American Legion here in Brunswick. And what are those organizations and what do you do with them? What's your connection?
Well, I'm privileged to be the chaplain of American Legion District 5. I'm a past commander of the post. We do many wonderful things for family and children. We have activities that take place. We have teams that go out and teach flag etiquette. We're there for the schools, for their programs. We do the military funerals. Our Legion is very active in military funerals. We have the Buckeye Boys and Girls State, which is a wonderful
Great program.
program. My own granddaughter, Jennifer, went to Girls State in Ashland College.
My daughter went down to Girls State down at Mount Union a couple of years ago. Loved it.
And my doctor is a Boy State graduate, Dr. Miller. Mike Carlson from the Carlson Funeral Home, where I am associate there, is a graduate from Boy State. We have in the VFW, the Voice of Democracy Patriots Pen competitions. One of the things that both posts do, and we're so loving and to do this, is to recognize our men and women in our fire department, our police department, our schools,
The children, yeah.
and we're so happy to do that because they're serving us, and many of them are veterans. And
what about the Wade Park? Now, I know you guys do treats and stuff down at Wade Park.
We go to Wade Park the second Sunday of every month. I'm privileged to coordinate that for the VFW for the county.
The posts get out into the assisted living and the nursing homes, and they do a great job, not just in the schools for the young kids, but also in these places where the older folks live. They do great jobs having recognition of the veterans there too. It's nice. Well, let's talk about you for a minute. Now, you were just bestowed a very special honor, actually two very special honors, one from the state of Ohio and one from the county of Medina. Made it into the Ohio Veterans Hall of Fame this year, and you were also selected as first ever Medina County Veteran of the Year.
That's a very humbling privilege, and the people that have been a part of my life, that I've loved and have loved me, and one of the teachers wrote that nomination for the Ohio Veterans Hall of Fame.
Right.
That's not about the military, it's about what military people do after they're out of the service, and I'm grateful for that recognition because it's about the men and women who've been part of my life, and many of them that I've said farewell to, that were very close to me, that have touched my very heart and my mind and my soul.
Right.
With their love, and we've become a part of them, and it's good.
And you keep giving. That's the one thing about veterans. They get out and they continue to give to their community, and I don't think people sometimes realize how much veterans do for their community out of the kindness of their heart. Very special. Anything you want to say to our viewers out there before we close?
Well, I just want to say that always remember to be thankful for the freedom that we enjoy here in our country, and to remember our veterans, never let them be forgotten, and take the time to say hello to them. If you see a veteran wearing that hat and service hat, just thank him for his service because it touches his heart. It really does, and we're so grateful that we can live in such a free, wonderful country, and our veterans continue to keep it free. And love them, remember them, write to them. And when you find out where they are, and remember to say hello.
So I already know the answer to my next question, but I ask everybody that comes on the show, if you had it to do all over again, would you still join the service?
Absolutely.
Jerry, I want to thank you for coming on the show today, okay?
Well, thank you, Ed, and you've been so wonderful as our veteran service officer.
It's what we do, right?
That's what we do, and I'm always referring you to other people when I'm visiting other counties.
I appreciate it. You keep them coming. Thanks for joining us with today's Salute to Service. We'll see you next month.
If you're like most families, you probably have video game fans in your home. But not every game is right for every kid, which is where the ESRB ratings come in. They help parents make informed decisions for their kids. And there's an easy-to-use mobile app that gives you detailed info on specific game ratings. Video game consoles have parental controls that you can set to block certain games by age rating, so they get all the fun, and you get peace of mind.